the National News Studio, Sri Lanka.
Good evening and welcome to the National News broadcast, bringing to you live from the National News Studios here at the Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation. We're ready to bring you the top stories here at home and around the world. I am Charita Binipurarachi.
And I'm Kasani Balachandra. Here are your top stories for tonight.
President briefs former Canadian Prime Minister over the process to address Sri Lanka's debt crisis. Finance Ministry extends support for the health sector. IGP slams the police. Cause of the deaths of the children in Peradeniya is not anesthetic medicine, hospital authorities state. Jewellery embedded with cremains attracts foreign markets. Search for the missing Titanic submersible continues as oxygen runs out.
On to those and other stories in detail now, and starting off with the top story, the frantic international search for the missing tourist submersible entered a more desperate phase today as rescuers feared that oxygen supply on the vessel may be running out.
However, officials have vowed to continue scouring the remote North Atlantic. 5 days have passed since the Titan began what should have been a 2-hour dive to the century-old shipwreck, which is 900 nautical miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. It is estimated to have a 96-hour supply of oxygen, meaning the vessel could have run out of air by this morning. The Coast Guard has indicated that the search for the submersible will continue. The search expanded exponentially yesterday as crews canvassed a surface area twice the size of Connecticut and 2.5 miles deep after hearing underwater noises. But remote-controlled underwater vehicles searching where the noises were detected had not yielded results, and officials cautioned the sounds might not have originated from the Titan. The French research ship Atlante, equipped with a robotic diving craft capable of reaching where the Titanic lies about 12,500 feet below the surface, had arrived in the zone as of today. It was first using an echo sounder to accurately map the seabed for the robot's search to be more targeted. The robot Victor 6000 has arms that can be remotely controlled to help free a trapped craft or hook it to a ship to haul it up. The US Navy is sending a special salvage system designed to lift large undersea objects. The Titanic, which sank in 1912 on its maiden voyage after hitting an iceberg killing more than 1,500 people, lies about 900 miles east of Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and 400 miles south of St. John's, Newfoundland. The Titan's deep-sea excursion to the shipwreck capped a tourist adventure for which OceanGate charges $250,000 per person. The passengers included British billionaire and adventurer Hamish Harding and Pakistani-born business magnate Shahzada Dawood with his 19-year-old son Suleiman, who are both British citizens. President Ranil Wickremesinghe outlined plans to finalize the debt restructuring process by September in a determined push to address Sri Lanka's debt crisis and foster reconciliation.
Joining a forum with former Canadian Prime Minister Harper, the President explained the circumstances that paved the way for the presidency and the country's journey towards economic recovery.
President Ranil Wickremesinghe participated in the forum at the 40th anniversary event of the International Democrat Union in London, held on the 19th and 20th of June.
America is important for our security. China's development is critical to our economy. We have to navigate both.
China has the largest creditor, the largest creditors of the private investor. China was hesitant of how they were going to handle the restructure. They took that. While the US came up with Japan first, India had started with the 3.5 billion euro. We utilized about 2.5 billion. And US came. So with that we started, we got the peninsula. We had India and China outside. Then India joined the peninsula. Meantime, we were talking with the Chinese, got more complicated because of the party conference in Noel. But at the end of it, they said, no, we are not very good, we will be with. Then Sri Lanka, we had discussed it earlier, I think we suggested the common platform. India joined the platform, China did. So China attended as an observer the meeting of the common platform, and they said they also have bilateral discussions with us, but more than us, they are having bilateral discussions with the IMF. So IMF keeps all parties informed. We keep all parties informed.
How long till Sri Lanka is kind of back to a reasonable growth economy? What's the time frame?
We have to get into major foreign exchange sources trading again. Firstly, if the remittances out of which had come down, it seems to be restoring. More and more money is coming every month. Secondly, it's going to be tourism next year. The problem is going to be exported, especially apparel, since European economy is down, the US is down. Basically, apparel export is down to about 25%. It's not only Sri Lanka, Bangladesh is also affected as well. So the prosperity of the Western economy is determined. But I think by the end of 2024, we'll be back to normal. The funding agencies will all get in and help us once the debt restructuring is over. I plan to finalize the debt restructuring by September. As I go back, the Parliament will vote Sri Lanka debt restructuring strategy once that is on. But idea is what I want, completely liberalize. The structural reforms are being done. Go ahead, immediately liberalize the economy and then ensure that more investments come in. In the long term, you need investment to shift the balance of trade in your favor. So my better start that now. But I am confident by 2024 we'll have much of.
And in the end, what you're saying is, I think, a message for all of us. Obviously, less serious economic problems in our countries, but challenges nevertheless. The only way out, really long term, is a private sector-led, market-oriented.
Market-oriented, trade integrated, growth strategy. That's all that's available. I don't think there's any other.
Where do you see the future of Sri Lanka's foreign policy?
Sri Lanka's strategic allies in Asia mainly would be the southern Asian countries. We also reach out to the Middle East. India, Japan, China would be the key, and ASEAN with the three strategic allies. And then Australia also, we have elections with independence. In the West, we look at Europe and the UK and the Commonwealth countries. South Africa is dealing with East Africa.
Your country has had important trade relations with both Ukraine and Russia. Tell us how you see that, what you would want to have happen.
Well, most of the global South again have kept opposite. The North Africa is a very strong stand, and part of ASEAN is also, some of them are working, most of them are neutral, but some of them have voted with the resolution. So our worry has been from the very beginning that we should not have come to this level. It would have been sorted out one way or another. And we want to ensure that the conflict will not expand, that the conflict can be settled. We are quite worried, as one of the others said, every major war has started in Europe. Responsibility out here. Our commitment is here. We are committed to the sovereignty of Ukraine. There is no question of that. It's how are we going to resolve. And Russia can have setbacks, it can have defeat, but you can't finally get it to Russia. That's the truth. So we would like, I know you still have different views, but in the south it is, let's contain it and then see how it can be brought to. So that way, we welcome the visit of Secretary Bigger to Beijing. President Ramaphosa has led a delegation into Russia and Ukraine, but we want to see the end of hostility. We are not seeing the end of war. There will be negotiations, it will take time, but a lot of the countries are affected with fuel and with food. That's very hard on the African countries. especially, so we've been bothered on with them.
Meanwhile, the UN Deputy High Commissioner for Human Rights, Nada Al-Nashid, says the Office of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights is ready to provide support to Sri Lankans in order to advance reconciliation, accountability and human rights for all.
She further said that the economic crisis continues to have a severe impact on the rights and well-being of many Sri Lankans.
She made these remarks while presenting an oral update on Sri Lanka's at the 53rd session on the Human Rights Council in Geneva yesterday.
The economic crisis continues to have a severe impact on the rights and well-being of many Sri Lankans. Discussions with creditors are underway, and although this year the International Monetary Fund approved a financial support package, which is an important first step, it is crucial to ensure that the burden of potential reforms does not further compound inequalities. Our office urges the government and political parties in Sri Lanka to use this opportunity for democratic renewal, for deeper institutional reforms, and to advance accountability and reconciliation, as well as the promotion and the protection of human rights. We encourage the dialogue that the President has initiated with Tamil political parties and welcome his promise to stop land acquisition for archaeological, forestry or security purposes. The past months have unfortunately witnessed an old reflex of using draconian laws to curtail opposition and control civic space, including the arrest of protest leaders and forceful crowd control measures, as well as the persistent use of the military in police functions. In March of this year, the Human Rights Committee expressed deep concern about the misuse of the Covenant on Civil and Political Rights Act against journalists, human rights defenders and other civil society actors. The government has committed to replacing the Prevention of Terrorism Act with legislation that adheres to international standards, but the new anti-terrorism bill that was gazetted in March contains sweeping provisions that would limit freedom of expression, peaceful assembly and even labor rights. Following strong pushback from civil society, the draft bill has now been recalled for additional consultations. I encourage the government to repeal the Prevention of Terrorism Act, considering that the Ordinary Criminal Code and other ancillary laws already provide adequate tools for law enforcement. Mr. Vice President, the office stands ready to provide support to the government and people of Sri Lanka in order to advance reconciliation, accountability and human rights for all.
The government of Sri Lanka is addressing unprecedented social and economic issues arising from the economic crisis. Political stability has been restored while conditions on the ground have improved considerably for the people. And despite ongoing challenges, the government is continuing on long-term measures towards reconciliation and accountability institutional framework. The IMF extended fund to Sri Lanka was approved recently, and the next under protection also being used. Then examination, it is part and reading in March. Private by the known despite the severe Sri Lanka actively engaged the human rights in Sri Lanka cooperation, engagement with our constitution, national
in for him to is unable to resolve only an insult to the health service to the
Acting Minister Shahan Singh says that the Finance Ministry will extend its complete procure essential medicine without any shortage, even amidst difficulties. He made these remarks during a meeting held with Minister K.D. Ramagwala at the Ministry of Finance today. A common working arrangement was reached between the ministries to facilitate necessary funds required for the health sector amidst difficulties pertaining to cover essential expenditure and to conduct regular meetings between the ministries to avoid persisting issues. The acting finance minister has said that the health sector expenditure is a top priority of the Ministry of Finance. He further said that necessary measures will be taken to immediately release the funds from the Treasury to procure the required medicine.
Director of the Sirimavo Bandaranaike Specialized Children's Hospital, Peradeniya, Dr. Sanab Veerabandhu emphasized the cause of the deaths of the two children at the hospital is not attributed to medicinal drug poisoning. He pointed out that an open verdict has been delivered over the cause of the death of one child and the cause of the other child's death has been determined as pulmonary infection. Two children died at the Sirimavo Bandaranaike Specialized Children's Hospital in Peradeniya on the 12th and 23rd of May. One of the children was 2.5 years of age while the other child was only 1.5 years. The children had died while being treated at the intensive care unit. Clarifications were made regarding these dates at a media briefing held at the Ministry of Health today.
Dengue prevention programs have been initiated covering the entire country. Meanwhile, the Western Province Dengue Prevention Subcommittee was convened yesterday to discuss over the dengue prevention measures pertaining to the province. The meeting presided over by Chairperson of the Expert Committee over the Prevention of Dengue, Dr. Sita Arambipula, was convened at the Western Provincial Council premises. Subcommittees over dengue prevention have been appointed, centering all 9 provinces. A prioritized attention has been directed over the dengue prevention campaigns affiliated with schools. Accordingly, permission has been granted to allow students to wear a suitable clothing underneath their uniforms. Steps have been taken to allocate Fridays for dengue prevention campaigns. Sri Lanka recorded the highest number of dengue infections in 2017. The Health Ministry has said that all circulars issued during 2017 over dengue prevention are being reviewed at present. A circular was issued recently pertaining to the preparation of hospitals for dengue patients and the protection of health staff from the disease.
Minister Tiran Alas has directed instructions to take immediate and stern legal actions against violent crimes committed in western and southern provinces. The relevant instructions have been issued during a discussion held yesterday. The relevant instructions have been issued to the Inspector General of Police. The Minister has emphasized that undue influence will be allowed to be exerted over such operations. He said that an assurance in this regard has been received by President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The Minister also instructed to grant a grace period until the 31st of July to surrender all unauthorized and unlicensed firearms. Following the completion of the relevant grace period, raids will be conducted by the intelligence units along with the police to seize such unauthorized and unlicensed firearms. During this discussion, the Inspector General of Police pointed out that the insufficiency and inefficiency of certain senior police officers and the officers in charge in western and southern provinces has attributed to the recent increase in the number of murders and other violent crimes reported from the provinces. Minister Alas called for the immediate transfer of the relevant police personnel and appoint suitable officers to these positions.
Minister Nalin Fernando highlighted that as a result of President Ranil Wickremesinghe's prudent decisions, the country successfully saved approximately $350 million that would have been otherwise spent on rice imports by the government. He made these remarks during his participation in a press conference organized by the Presidential Media Center today, focusing on the theme Collective Path to a Stable Country. Minister Fernando emphasized that significant efforts have been made to revise the outdated Consumer Affairs Authority Act, which has been in effect for 2 decades, in order to safeguard the rights of consumers. He also said that legal measures will be taken against companies manufacturing non-essential food items that fail to offer concessionary benefits to the consumers despite benefiting from government tax concessions. Minister Nalin Fernando said that people often inquire why the market situation has returned to normalcy while the prices of goods have not decreased accordingly. He said that the aim of the government is to reduce food inflation to single-digit figures by December. Compared to 2022, the prices of goods have already decreased. For instance, the price of onions, which was once 314 rupees per kilo, has now dropped to 120 rupees, he added. The minister said that similarly, the prices of various essential items, including potatoes, white sugar, red lentils, have been decreased. Today is the 4th day of the annual Asele Festival of the historic Ruhunu Khattaragama Devalaya.
Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation is the official media sponsor of the festival. A large number of devotees are gathering at the Khattaragama sacred site to be a part of this historic festival.
Surindoni Khattaragama 2023 official media sponsor Jatak Rupavahini. We see a large number of devotees who have gathered around the holy historic premises of Ruhunu Maha Khattaragama Devalaya. So many people from all around the country, especially from the north and the east. And also we got to see how so many foreign tourists were showing much interest in the culture, traditions and rituals performed, especially after getting a good experience of the processions. And as for a small recap of last night's procession, it was so vibrant and full of color. There were so many fantastic items. Calling upon God Skanda was done by Taska Kandula of Kalinraja Mahavihara, and there were so many fantastic dance items. For example, the Kavadi dance, peacock dance, and traditional Sri Lankan dancing styles Udarata Pahatrat and Sabaragamu. And also preparations are being made for tonight's procession as well. The number of items in the final lineup has gone up. So we invite you to join us and be part of this wonderful experience. I'm Amavi Biso Bandara for Rupavahini News at Ruhunu Khattaragama Mahadevala. We'll be back with the latest updates. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena says the time has come to develop the industrial sector while facing the challenges.
The Prime Minister made these remarks while taking part in the inauguration of the Industry 2023 National Industry Exhibition today at the Sirimavo Bandanayaka Exhibition Hall in Colombo. The main objective of the Industry 2023 National Industry Exhibition is to create an export-centered economy. The exhibition has been organized jointly by the Ministry of Industry and Sri Lanka Industrial Development Board in collaboration with institutions affiliated with the Ministry, other state agencies and the private sector. The exhibition will be held until the 25th of this month, encompassing the entire industry sector. The exhibition is consisted of 750 stalls. The national exhibition is set to facilitate the opportunity to empower industrialists, introduce new technology for industries, encourage innovation, opportunity to access various markets, gathering of local and foreign entrepreneurs, suppliers and buyers, and as well as create a massive space for new industries. The exhibition also expects to enhance the opportunity to improve youth and women entrepreneurship and increase value-added products.
And meanwhile, Tile and Sanitaryware Importers Association requested the government to facilitate the tile and related sanitaryware imports. They pointed out that the construction sector can be uplifted through such measures. The association said that the tile and related product imports have been suspended for nearly 3 years. As a result, the economic situation of the relevant stakeholders, including spotters and showroom owners, has dropped considerably. The minimum price of a tile in the market is at 1,400 rupees.
Frankly speaking, we are not talking about the competition between the importers and the local manufacturer. If you take pre-COVID, per square meter construction cost of Sri Lanka, we were the second highest in the region. If you take, we were just below Singapore when our dollar was 200 plus. Today our dollar is 300 plus. So today probably we will be the costliest construction cost in the country will be in Sri Lanka will be topping the list. I am appealing to the policy makers. Is it the local construction industry you are planning to save, or is it the local manufacturing industry you are planning to save? End of the day, the responsibility of every policy makers or whoever it is to safeguard the consumer and the end customer. It is the end customer or the consumer who is paying this 115% cost as a protection to the local manufacturer. So this is the humble request we are making on behalf. How do you revive is just making policies to reduce the cost of construction. The raw material or the construction material cost, you have to reduce the cost. Only by that there will be a stamina created in the market where people could spend on construction.
That's it on local news. Stay tuned with international news after this break.
මහනුවර පොත් දැක්ම 2023 ජූලි 26 සිට ජූලි 2 වෙනිදා දක්වා පෙරවරු 9 සිට පස්වරු 7 තෙක් කැන්ඩි සිටි සෙන්ටර්ෙහිදී සංවිධානය ශ්‍රී ලංකා පොත් ප්‍රකාශකින්ගේ සංගමය
வெளிநாட்டிலிருந்து பணத்தை மக்கள் வங்கிக்கு அனுப்பி வாராந்தம் 1 லட்சம் ரூபாய், மாதாந்தம் 1 மில்லியன் ரூபாய், ஆண்டிறுதியில் மாபெரும் சீட்டெழுப்பில் 1 கோடி ரூபாயினை வெல்லுங்கள். பீப்பிள்ஸ் ரெமிட்டன்ஸ் கோடி அதிர்ஷ்டம். நேரடியாக அனுப்புங்கள், பெரும் வெற்றி காணுங்கள்.
Welcome back, and in your foreign news tonight, US President Joe Biden has called Chinese President Xi Jinping a dictator at a fundraising event in California. His remarks came a day after US Secretary of State Antony Blinken met Mr. Xi for talks in Beijing, which were aimed at easing tensions between the two superpowers. US President Biden also said Chinese President Xi was embarrassed after an alleged Chinese spy balloon was shot down by the United States. China has firmly opposed President Biden's comments and called these remarks extremely absurd and irresponsible. US Secretary of State Blinken's visit over the weekend, the first by US Secretary of State in almost 5 years, restarted high-level communications between the two countries.
Welcome back with your sports update, and it's cricket. Oman and Scotland secured wins in the matches played in the ICC World Cup cricket qualifying matches yesterday. The matches were played in Zimbabwe. The first match was between Scotland and Ireland. Scotland managed to win the match by 1 wicket. Batting first, Ireland managed to score 286 runs for the loss of 8 wickets in their first innings. Scotland in response chased down the target with 1 wicket in hand. Charita signing off with Kasani. Stay safe. Good night.
Good night.